Welcome back. You just saw the trailer for So Be It, a really lovely film that is premiering and in just a few days. And we have joining us via Skype right now the author of the book that this is based on, So Be It. So Sarah Weeks is here with us. She's an award-winning young adult novelist. And Sarah, I thank you so much for being with us today. I know this is a very exciting time. When is the film premiering?
The film opens in New York and Los Angeles next weekend. October 6th is the first show, and it will then open nationwide the week after that, starting with October.
Really amazing. And we just saw the trailer, but tell us a little bit about this film, because I'm telling people they've got to go and see it, but tell them a little bit about the heart of this film.
Okay. Well, the book, So Be It, is about a 12-year-old girl named Heidi, whose mother only says 23 words. That's her whole vocabulary. Most of those words are simple words like good, more, hot, no. But she says one word, soof, and no one knows what it means. So she goes in search of the meaning of that word. And we have Alfre Woodard, who is playing the agoraphobic neighbor who takes care of Heidi and her mama. And Talitha Bateman is a wonderful young actress who's playing Heidi. Jessica Collins as Mama. It's an incredible cast. And the movie, with the screenplay by Gary Williams, is very, very true to the book. So I'm extremely excited about the movie and very pleased that they stayed so true to the book.
Okay, and I wish that we were just doing an interview about this wonderful idea and this wonderful movie and this fabulous cast. Oh my gosh, what a fabulous cast. And we could just talk about that. But the truth is that we've got to talk about something that's really tearing my ticket, literally and figuratively, that as this film is about to premiere, you get a rating for your film. Tell us what happened and what rating this film got.
It was such a shock. The film was given a PG-13 rating. And the book is appropriate for kids 10 and up. So I do many, many, many author visits every year, and I'm talking about So Be It with 4th and 5th graders. And suddenly we have this PG-13 rating. And, most people think of a PG-13 rating means, oh, the movie must have a lot of violence in it or bad language or sexual content or something. We don't have any of that. And so when we were given the PG-13 rating, the distributor of the film called and said, Sarah, would you be willing to fight for the rating? Will you go and be part of the appeal to appeal the rating? And I said, absolutely. So I prepared my statement and I was all ready to go. And they came out of the screening, 12 people came out of the screening and said, we loved the movie. A number of them were drying their eyes, having gotten kind of weepy at the end. And they said, but we think it's PG-13. And I said, why? And they said, because of thematic material. And I said, what thematic material? And they said, it's very emotional. And I said, well, the book is very emotional. Have you read the book? And none of them had read the book. But when they began to really talk about the things that they felt were the problematic thematic material, it was all these very emotional scenes with the characters who were dealing with various challenges. With Mama, in the book, I never say what it is that she is the cause of her differences, but in the movie we do say that she's autistic. And so there's Mama with her autism, and she gets upset in public. And then Bernadette, the neighbor, has agoraphobia, and she gets upset when she tries to go outside. Those were the two things that they cited as the thematic material. So we're thinking, what's the problem? These are realistic portrayals of people who are very realistic, very wonderful, warm, loving people who get upset. We all get upset. So why is it different when someone who is in some way challenged gets upset? And why is Hollywood saying, no, kids can't see that? What are we protecting our children from? So,
and that was my next question to you, is that there are ramifications because of this rating, that there are children who will not be taken to this movie to see it because of the rating. And I'm sure that that you've thought of other things that I haven't thought about. This actually matters, to have this sort of rating on it. What do you anticipate, Sarah, because it does matter, right?
It really does matter. And one of the things that they told me, the rating board said, is, you have to understand, Sarah, this is actually a compliment. we think this movie is so wonderful that adults are going to want to come too, and we think with a PG-13 rating, adults will be more likely to come. My feeling is that a PG rating says parental guidance, take a look at what it is, and if you take a look at the book, you see it's completely fine. But what happens when you give a movie a PG-13 rating, a movie like ours, which has a huge following of kids in grades 4 and up, those children will not be allowed to come on field trips. Many of them can't come on field trips to see the movie. Even though it's a beautiful adaptation of a book that they're reading in their classrooms, they won't be able to come.
We're seeing people in this film that have different abilities and varied different abilities, looking at different issues, and that we are saying that cumulatively that means that we shouldn't show this to our children. Makes me furious. It feels like a form of discrimination against our communities. And I think that if we let this go as a community, then what will the next thing be? We need to stand up together as a community and be heard on this matter and let people know that you know what it makes me think about? It's that invisible thing. Tuck your kids away. Tuck yourself away. If you are agoraphobic, that the world doesn't want to see what you're struggling with. If you have autism and somebody, we have had so many things in the last few weeks where autism is being elevated and it's in the entertainment world. And yet a lot of people have said, wait a second, we want to see more women with autism and we want to see more individuals who maybe they're nonverbal or have more significant challenges. And I just want to say to the autism community, this is it. It's been served up for you. There is a leading character who is a woman who only has a handful of words, and she is a mother. You've been asking for this. Now support this film and tell people that this does not warrant a PG-13 rating. Your lives don't warrant a PG-13 rating. My life doesn't warrant a PG-13 rating, so this can't stand. Are there ways that we can protest? Who do we write to, Sarah?
Well, I think that the best way you can protest is go and see the movie and tell other people to go and see the movie. I feel really confident in saying it's a beautiful, beautiful film. And Mama, who's played by Jessica Collins, is a very, very compassionate figure. When I was on the set and we were filming some of her scenes, I remember she pulled me aside and said, how can you help me? Help me understand Mama more. And it was a scene where Mama is a little bit upset because the vacuum cleaner is making a loud noise. And Jessica had been putting her hands on her ears like that. And so I said, if you really want to know what I think, I want to make sure that it's very clear to our audience that Mama is very happy where she is. She loves her daughter. She loves Bernadette. She's fine. She loves going outside with Heidi. And she may have very few words, but she's having absolutely no trouble at all communicating her love of her child, her love for the person who cares for them. She's a very full character. So I think the best thing is being on this program is such a pleasure and an honor. And, I'm so happy that we're talking about this issue because it has been really difficult for me. It was very difficult to try and wrap my head around the fact that this movie has the same rating as Hunger Games. Now, Hunger Games, it's a great book and it's a great movie, but that's a movie for much older people with much more serious, dramatic stuff going on in there than what's happening in mine.
Extreme violence. And we're not saying anything negative against that film, but this is not in the same category. And I don't know that I would take a 10-year-old to see Mockingjay, but I see no reason on earth why you couldn't take a 10-year-old to see this. And especially the fact that there was an award-winning book that was for that age range. It makes absolutely no sense. It feels very discriminatory against our communities.
And also, one of the awards that the book won was the Parents' Gold Choice Award. That's an award that's voted on by parents and what's appropriate for their children to read. So, it just seems wrong to me that it got this rating. And, I have to accept it. There's nothing I can do about it. We appealed it. And, I cried pretty hard afterwards, but I kept it together while we were talking about it. And then since then, I've continued to talk about it in schools. Yesterday, I was in a middle school in New Jersey with 5th and 6th graders. And they were so excited about the movie and raising their hands and saying they all wanted to come. They planned a field trip. And I got a call from one of the teachers today and said, now tell me about that PG-13 rating. And I said, trust me, you don't have to worry about it. And so they'll work around it. But they were concerned about going to the superintendent of schools to say, we want to take our kids to a PG-13 rating. That's where it's unfair for me. It's a family movie in the truest sense of the word. The whole family can go. It's not a movie that adults have to grin and bear, until it's over. It's a movie that adults will understand and appreciate, and so will kids, and then they can talk about it afterwards.
And I think that's the key, is that this is a real conversation starter. It's a great story, and people will be entertained and enjoy the story. And as you said, it's very emotional, and kids will get to have that emotion, but it's a great conversation starter. And these are the kinds of conversations that we need to have for people who don't understand that autism is a spectrum, and for people to be able to see a woman on the spectrum with limited verbal ability being a mom. No, this has not been seen before. That is a huge thing. We do not see characters trying to I'm just going to say, I've said it here before on the show, that I went through a period of agoraphobia after my son was diagnosed and was in therapy for 2 years, and it was rough. And I have not seen, and I love Alfre Woodard, and I got emotional watching her trying to deal with her agoraphobia, because I have a sense of what that is like. And to be able to share that with my son, because he has some memories of when I had difficulty leaving the house, right? To have those reference points, it's criminal that they have done this. You know what it is? It's ignorant. It's ignorant, and I think that our community has to stand up and re-educate. So I really want people to get to this film. I want to take just a second here and shift, though, because now that we've talked about this, I want people to know more about this story and more about how this book came to be. Why was this an important story for you to tell, Sarah?
I've written almost 60 books, and I'm always drawn to characters who are facing some kind of a challenge. It might be, as it is in this case, like a communication challenge or an emotional challenge. But it could also be, situational, a kid who's going through a divorce or something like that. I like to write about people who have challenges that we may at first think, wow, that's overwhelming. They're never going to get beyond that. But they do. They persevere and get beyond. I can't really look back at my own childhood and say, oh, I had a really difficult childhood. I didn't. I had a really wonderful childhood. But I think that we all face challenges, and how we approach them and get past them, that's a universal thing. So one of the things I feel wonderful about with So Be It, both the book and the movie, is I don't think it's something that, you have to understand what it's like to have agoraphobia or autism to understand or to have this movie resonate for you. I think it resonates with all kinds of people. Absolutely. And what's really, really touching and moving to me is that someone like you would invite me on a program like this. I'm not an expert on autism. I don't have a child with autism, nor do we have anyone in our family who is autistic, but I do have friends who have autistic children, and I'm very interested in what their lives are like and what their children are like. And so if you're feeling that I've done a good job of portraying the character of Mama, that nothing could make me happier.
And I think it's important to note, as we've been talking about all these shows that have to do with autism, we're very fond of saying in the autism world, when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And it's a really, I think what I especially love is that with Mama, we see a story that we have not yet seen about autism that I think is going to make people look at things in a different way. She certainly has big challenges, but it's fascinating. I'm always fascinated with everybody. I think everybody has a story, and there's a fascinating aspect of this story about how people who have challenges come together and fit their puzzle pieces of challenges together to cobble together a life. And that really resonates with me, because I think that's the truth. That we see that happen in life so much. And I think that that's exciting for kids to see, and see that there is not just one way to live.
Right.
And that
there's an element in the book about luck. Heidi has a lucky streak, and that comes in very handy as she, because they're limited in health, not being able to go outside of the house. Bernadette doesn't work, and she doesn't have an income, and they live in Reno, Nevada. So Heidi's lucky streak helps them out. She sometimes plays the slot machines at the laundromat and brings home money for Mama's medicine and things like that. And what was fun about playing around with that luck was that I think that Heidi is lucky beyond her lucky streak. She's lucky because she has a wonderful mother who adores her and, gives her everything that she really needs. And she has Bernadette to give her the other things that Mama can't give her. So she has a very full life, and she's very lucky. And I do remember that one time I was visiting a school right after the book came out, and someone raised her hand and said, Heidi is so lucky. And I said, you mean because of her lucky streak? And she said, no, because of her mama. Yeah. And I learned later that child was going through, a situation at home where the mother had left. And so, it was very moving to me to see that she could look at Heidi and say how lucky she is to have her mom.
As I said before, a great conversation starter. And the cast is amazing. The fact that we've already mentioned Alfre Woodard, and the little girl is a fabulous actress. I'm sure we're going to hear more about her. The fact that you've got John Hurd, one of his last films, and Cloris Leachman, my goodness, playing a relatively small role, but a really lovely role, a pivotal role. Amazing cast. What was it like is this the first time that one of your novels has been made into a film?
It is the first time one of my novels has been turned into a film. I hope it's not the last, because I have totally been bitten by the Hollywood. Just loved the process.
What is it like to see these big stars make characters that came out of your mind come to life?
I have gotten kind of a reputation as a ball baby because I cry. I've seen the movie many times, and I still cry at certain scenes, especially scenes with Mama. But it's extremely moving and flattering to see someone saying your words. And, Dash Myhawk, who plays Sheriff Roy Franklin, is so fantastic, too. So there's so many wonderful performances. And people really embraced this story. We're a small, independent film. And I didn't really know what that meant until I got on the set and realized, we just didn't have much money to pay for things. And so wonderful things happened as a result of that. Like Alfre Woodard said, I think Bernadette would have family photographs on the wall. Would you like to borrow mine? And so those are Alfre Woodard's family photographs of her, relatives and ancestors that are up on the walls. People did so many nice things to bring the love to the set, and it absolutely shines through in the movie. It was an incredible experience to be there.
Two of my all-time favorite actresses. I just think Alfre Woodard walks on water. And Cloris Leachman, I think, is one of the greatest actresses, and certainly one of the most Emmy-nominated actresses in our lifetime. So the fact that both of them are in your film blew my doors off, and the rest of the cast is brilliant as well. So you did really well. We were almost out of time, but Sarah, what are you working on now? What do we expect to see from you next?
I'm so glad you asked me that. My next book is called Soof, and it's the sequel to So Be It, where I would never, ever write the sequel. It was a little bit like a breech birth, very difficult book to write, but I'm really proud of it, and it'll be out in the fall.
Wonderful. Well, and you probably can't say, but I'm dying to know if there's an element of autism in this one.
There is. There is indeed.
Okay.
And, I learned a lot from writing So Be It, and also from people's reactions to it. And I'll be really interested to see how people feel about how I handle the autism in Soof. It's a different scenario, but I'm very proud of the story.
That was one of my questions, and we're not going to get time to it, is, whenever a writer writes about anything to do with autism, I know there's a certain amount of research and you learn a certain amount of, but we'll check out the book to see what it is that you learned about autism, and we'll save that for when you come back to talk about the book. How's that?
That's great. And as Heidi would say, dun, dun, dun. Or as Mama would say, dun, 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 Heidi. Shh.
There we go. And I'll say Soof to you. So, and again, for people, what's the website to go to find out more information about So Be It, the film?
So Be It, the movie is the website. So Be It, the movie. And there's no E after that B. SOBIT, SoBeItTheMovie.com. And that's also where you'll find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
And I'm really going to ask everybody to get behind this film and support it, because our entire community was done wrong with this rating, and we need to compensate for it, because that's the only way that these stories are going to continue to get told. We cannot lay down and take this. This is a horrible, horrible misstep on the part of the ratings board. Such a shame.
Thank you so much for your support and kind words.